Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. Coming up in the next hour. North Korea launches second ballistic missile in less than 12 hours, condemns arrival of US nuclear-powered submarine in South Korea. Japan PM to hold National Security Council meeting. Aid enters Gaza through Israel's Kerem Shalom crossing for the first time in conflict. Sources say Israel-Hamas open to truce, but obstacles remain. National security trial of pro-democracy tycoon Jimmy Lai opens in Hong Kong. Lai faces 3 charges under the national security law and a further count of sedition. And in sports, FIFA Club World Cup set for June-July in 2025. United States to hold the first edition of the event. North Korea has launched a suspected short-range ballistic missile into the Sea of Japan, according to South Korea's military. They said it flew around 570 kilometers after being deployed on Sunday. This is in defiance of multiple UN Security Council bans and comes as the US, Japan and South Korea begin to share real-time information about Pyongyang's missile launches of this month. Jagriti Dave reports from Washington.
These latest indications of a launch by North Korea are expected to complicate further the attempts by the United States to denuclearize the peninsula. It suggests that North Korea is willing to double down on its threats rather than view the actions by the United States, Japan and South Korea, their cooperation, as a deterrence. And this ramping up of its missile test by Kim Jong-un is an example of that. There's added concern that North Korea could also supply weapons to Russia as part of its war with Ukraine in exchange for Russia's knowledge about nuclear technology. So these missile launches are worrying not only for the Korean Peninsula, but wider geopolitics. Now, all this comes as the United States, Japan and South Korea are about to launch a sharing system of missile data of launches by North Korea, and that's due to happen this month. And the sorts of things that they will be sharing are detecting and tracking incoming North Korean missiles. There'll be nuclear operation scenarios as part of their joint exercises. All of these which Pyongyang views as provocations, but which the United States, Japan and South Korea view as necessary parts of their attempts to denuclearize the peninsula and for the security of the trilateral agreement and their own individual nations against the threats and the challenges posed by North Korea.
All right, and Andrew Wood joins us with more from Hong Kong. Andrew, good morning. Can you provide details on the suspected short-range ballistic missile, Andrew, launched by North Korea into the Sea of Japan?
Well, yes, as you say, it fell into the sea. It's reckoned it only about, it flew about 600 kilometers. But since that short-term ballistic missile was launched, the Koreans, South Koreans and the Japanese say another missile, a longer-range ballistic missile, has also been launched, and that fell into well, it got as high as about 6,000 kilometers, and then it fell into the sea off the northern Japanese island of Hokkaido. So that's 2 back-to-back tests within 12 hours. Certainly, North Korea seems to be trying to send a message that it's still in the game of launching missiles. Remember, only like a month or 2 ago, it launched its first satellite successfully into space. So this is definitely a sign that North Korea is trying to keep its foes on their toes.
Okay, Andrew. Now, in what ways does this missile launch defy the existing UN Security Council bans, and what repercussions could it have?
Well, there's lots of UN Security Council resolutions and UN general resolutions covering North Korea and its development of both missiles, a space program, and nuclear weapons as well. and they basically forbid it. But so far, this doesn't seem to have deterred the North Koreans. The North Koreans just carry on as usual. The North Koreans say that as a sovereign country, they have a right to a space program. They have a right to develop their own missiles. They have the right to develop their own nuclear missiles to defend themselves. And it's also, remember that Moscow, or rather Russia, is a member of the United Nations Security Council. It's supported some of these measures against North Korea, and yet North Korea and Russia are doing business. North Korea is supplying missiles to, or supplying ammunition to Russia to use in Ukraine, and Russia is supplying information about it's suspected about missiles and space programs and through to the North Koreans. So if you've got a UN Security Council member basically prepared to ignore these UN Security Council resolutions that it itself has supported, then North Korea doesn't really have an awful lot to deter it from doing so.
All right. Are there any specific concerns, Andrew, raised by South Korea's military regarding this latest missile launch by North Korea?
No, I think that the worry is that the more North Korea does it, the more North Korea will do it. In a way, South Korea is, the South Korean military is well used to being in the target, in the crosshairs of North Korea, because even Seoul, the capital, is only about 40-50 kilometers from the border with North Korea, and there are plenty of artillery is reckoned to be trained on Seoul like this. If anything, I think that although they wouldn't probably want to admit to it in public, the South Korean military are, not happy, but certainly the more North Korea threatens the rest of the world, the more North Korea is taken seriously as a threat, and so therefore there's more likely to be sympathy for the South Korean position. Don't forget, the Americans have sent a nuclear-powered submarine that arrived in the South Korean port at the weekend. So there's a sign that its allies, its main ally, America, is prepared to stand with South Korea.
All right, on that note, thank you so much, Andrew Wood, for joining in. Well, shifting focus to Israel-Hamas conflict now, Kerem Shalom crossing between Israel and Gaza opened for the first time for a humanitarian aid truck on Sunday. The crossing on the border of Egypt, Israel and Gaza is one of the main transit points for goods in and out of Gaza. The move is in motion to double the amount of food and medicine aid reaching Gaza. The crossing had been closed after the October 7 attack by Hamas. Then after, aid was being delivered solely through Gaza's Rafah crossing with Egypt, which Israel says could only accommodate the entry of 100 trucks per day. Meanwhile, there are also reports that United Nations Security Council could vote as early as Monday on draft resolution to establish aid monitoring mechanism in Gaza. The draft resolution calls for facilitating the use of all land, sea and air routes leading to the entire Gaza Strip, including border crossings, including the Kerem Shalom crossing also. Reportedly, the fate of draft Security Council resolution hinges on final negotiations between Israel and Council veto power, US and UAE. Moreover, there are also reports that Israel and Hamas are both open to a renewed ceasefire and hostage release. As Israel's counter-offensive against Hamas gains pace, Israeli forces on Sunday released a video footage of newly uncovered tunnel on Sunday. According to the Israeli officials, the large concrete and iron-girded tunnel had been designed to carry carloads of militant fighters from Gaza right up to the border. Another video showing brother of Yahya Sinwar, the Hamas leader in Gaza, being driven in a car through the tunnel was also released. French Foreign Minister ended her visit to Israel and West Bank on Sunday. She met her Israeli counterpart Eli Cohen in Tel Aviv and later met her Palestinian counterpart Riyad al-Maliki in Ramallah, West Bank. During her meeting with both the minister, she reiterated France's call for an immediate humanitarian truce in Gaza. Moreover, she also stressed that opening of the Kerem Shalom crossing for aid was not enough and more actions were required. Well, updates now on the Russia-Ukraine war. Both the countries launched a swarm of drones at each other's territories on Sunday as both sides step up attacks. The Russian attack killed a person in Odessa and the Ukrainian strike targeted a Russian military airfield. Ukraine's Air Force said it had destroyed 20 drones and a cruise missile that launched overnight. 9 of the drones were downed over southern Odessa region. Meanwhile, the Russian Defense Ministry said its air defense systems destroyed a total of 35 Ukraine-launched drones over several regions. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said Ukraine and the European Commission will soon assess Kyiv's progress on aligning its legislation with that of the European Union. He added a framework for EU accession talks is expected in the spring.
We have the decision of the European Council, for the sake of which we have worked throughout the year, a decision to open negotiations on membership. In the coming days, we will officially launch with the European Commission the process of assessing Ukrainian legislation for compliance with EU legislation, the screening process. We are also preparing for the work on the negotiation framework for Ukraine. We expect it in spring.
The Freedom of Russia Legion, a Ukrainian-based paramilitary group of Russians, claimed responsibility for a cross-border attack on Sunday, a few kilometers into Russia's Belgorod region. The group is designated as terrorist in Russia. The group said it had destroyed a platoon stronghold of Russian troops near Trebango village and left mines behind. While the governor of Belgorod region said a shooting battle was underway on the village edge. He added no civilians had been injured, but 3 houses and power lines were damaged. Ukraine's security service said it has launched a criminal probe under a law on information gathering after a technical device was found and office linked to top general. The security service said an investigation had been opened under the article in Ukraine's criminal code on unlawful acquisition, sale or use of special technical means for obtaining information. The device, initially characterized as a bug, was in a non-operational state and no means of information storage or remote transmission of audio recordings were found. President Vladimir Putin, speaking at a conference of the ruling United Russia Party, urged unity to maintain the nation's sovereignty and once again accused Western countries of attempting to destabilize the country's economic and political landscape. Putin, who will seek another presidential term as an independent candidate, received unanimous support from the party, including Prime Minister and other top officials.
Russia cannot, like some countries, exchange its sovereignty for sausage and become someone's satellite. We must remember and never forget and instruct our children. Russia will either be a sovereign, self-sufficient power, or it will not exist at all.
Well, a junior British foreign minister on Monday said Guyana's territorial integrity should be respected as he visited the Commonwealth country after neighboring Venezuela renewed its claim to the oil-rich Essequibo region. Britain's Minister for the Americas and Caribbean met Guyanese president and offered the UK's unequivocal backing to Guyanese friends. He also welcomed the recent agreement. Guyana and Venezuela on Thursday agreed to avoid any use of force and to not escalate tensions in their long-running dispute in the Essequibo region. Essequibo is generally recognized as part of Guyana, but in recent years, Venezuela has revived its claim to the territory and to offshore areas after major oil and gas discoveries. Rutle will also hold talks with ambassadors from the United States, France, Canada, and European Union over international support for the former British colony in the dispute. Weather-related updates now. An electrical storm caused wreckage in Buenos Aires, Argentina, leaving at least 13 persons dead. President Javier Milei's office offered condolences to the victims' families and recommended locals stay inside their homes due to wind gusts exceeding 150 kilometers per hour. The country is currently facing economic difficulties. Heavy rain from a coastal trough linked to ex-tropical cyclone Jasper has cut off several tourist towns in Australia's north along the Great Barrier Reef, forcing evacuations and flooding. Cairns, the gateway town to the reef, received 600 millimeters of rain over 40 hours, more than triple the December mean. All international and domestic flights from Cairns Airport were cancelled. Still to come on DD India News Hour. Armed group opens fire on partygoers in Mexico, kills a dozen people. Canada to announce zero-emission vehicle plans this week. And napping cats take over northern Thailand rice paddies.
world that never stops, where information shapes our reality. One app stands out, helps you stay ahead of time. Introducing the DD India app, your gateway to a world of news right at your fingertips. Your most trusted source of news goes global, goes digital. Explore a world of options, top stories, live updates, in-depth analysis, and more. Stay informed wherever you are. Real-time alerts keep you ahead of the curve always. The DD India app, connecting you to the world, one story at a time. Download now and explore the world of knowledge, insights, and authentic information.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. The long-awaited national security trial of Hong Kong media tycoon Jimmy Lai has begun amid a heavy police presence aimed at ensuring safety and that nothing disrupts the proceedings. The founder of the Apple Daily newspaper stands accused of conspiring to collude with foreign forces under the national security legislation and taking part in a conspiracy to publish seditious materials under the city's colonial-era sedition law. Britain called for Hong Kong to release Jimmy Lai ahead of the trial on charges, including the United States. Jimmy faces up to life in prison if convicted on national security charges, which rights activists have called baseless. And two suspected Chinese weather balloons flew across the sensitive Taiwan Strait on Sunday, but stayed well to the north of the island nation. Taiwan's defense ministry said on Monday, this is the second time in a month Taipei has reported them nearby. Earlier, one detected on December 7. Taiwan is on high alert for Chinese activities, both military and political, ahead of the January 13 presidential and parliamentary election. Taipei has warned of Beijing's efforts to interfere in the ballot to get voters to pick candidates China may prefer. The ministry's initial judgment is that they were weather balloons, spokesperson Sun Lifang said. A dozen people were killed in an attack in a holiday party in Mexico, where an armed group opened fire on partygoers. The attack occurred at dawn in Salvatierra, a town known for its traditional Mexican Christmas party. Guanajuato, home to numerous automotive and aeronautics factories, has become one of the most violent states in the country due to drug trafficking conflicts. Well, Canada to announce that all new cars will have to be zero emissions by 2035 this week. According to the reports from the Toronto Star, Canadian government is set to unveil new regulations to push for electrification of vehicles, as many countries around the globe are already doing so. Speaking to the Toronto Star, a senior government official stated that new rules, namely electric vehicle availability standard, will also shorten the wait times to get an electric vehicles. Adding that the zero-emission vehicles, including battery electric, plug-in and hydrogen models, must represent 20% of all new car sales in 2026, 60% in 2030 and 100% in 2035. Let's now take a look at elections-related stories making news around the world. Serbian President Aleksandar Vučić has claimed victory in snap parliamentary elections, saying his party is heading for an absolute majority. Based on votes counted in a sample of polling stations, pollsters predicted the populist SNS won 46.2% of votes, while the opposition centre-left Serbia Against Violence Alliance is set to come second with 23.2%. Meanwhile, Serbia's opposition centre-left alliance accused the ruling party of election fraud and said it would complain to the State Election Commission after initial results for the country's SNAPS poll came in. Now, Chilean voters rejected a proposed conservative constitution to replace the country's dictatorship-era charter. With 96% of votes counted late Sunday, about 55.8% had voted no to the new charter, with about 44.2% in favour. This is the second draft constitution in as many years that voters have rejected to replace its current text. But after 4 years of votes and political infighting, Chileans have been voicing mistrust and disenchantment with the process. Though Egyptian authorities are yet to announce who won last week's election, Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, who's the incumbent president, is expected to win a third term. The elections happened at a time when the Middle East's most populous nation, Egypt, is in the midst of an economic crisis and experiencing the effect of ongoing conflict between Hamas and Israel in the region. El-Sisi is a former military general who has led Egypt for the past decade with an emphasis on security or democracy, is expected to retain power. The election, which began on December 10, is Sisi's third since taking power after overthrowing Egypt's first popularly elected president, Mohamed Morsi, in 2013. Morsi won the presidency a year after toppling of long-ruling autocrat Hosni Mubarak in a popular uprising. Thousands gathered in Lubumbashi in the Democratic Republic of Congo to attend presidential candidate Moise Katumbi's final rally ahead of the December 20 presidential vote. Almost 44 million people are registered to vote in an election that will determine whether incumbent President Felix Tshisekedi will remain in office after his first term in 2018. Moise Katumbi was prevented from entering the country in time to submit his candidacy for the presidential election, but this time his chances have been boosted by the backing of 3 candidates that have dropped out of the race. Florida governor and Republican presidential candidate Ron DeSantis said that he would build a border wall if he's elected the next U.S. president in 2024. DeSantis, who spoke at a rally in Oskaloosa, Iowa, said he would impose fees on remittances migrants sent to their countries of origin to pay for the construction of the border wall. The Trump rival added that he wants to strengthen the military and use domestic energy for production. DeSantis, the governor of Florida, has been campaigning relentlessly of late, trying to close the gap in the final weeks. Former U.S. President Donald Trump took aim at President Joe Biden at a rally in New Hampshire, where he warned of World War III and pledged to prevent it. Trump leads his rivals for the Republican nomination by nearly 50 percentage points in the national opinion polls. Trump has pleaded not guilty to 4 felony counts, accusing him of attempting to defraud the United States and obstruct Congress through schemes to overturn his loss to President Joe Biden.
It's no wonder Biden and the far-left lunatics are desperate to stop us by any means necessary. They're willing to violate the U.S. Constitution at levels never seen before in order to win. They will do anything to win. They'll do whatever they have, whatever they can. And remember this, Joe Biden is a threat to democracy. He's a threat.
Trump also said that undocumented immigrants were poisoning the blood of our country, repeating language that has previously drawn criticism as xenophobic and echoing of Nazi rhetoric.
You know, when they let, I think the real number is 15, 16 million people into our country, when they do that, we got a lot of work to do. They're poisoning the blood of our country. That's what they've done. They poison mental institutions and prisons all over the world, not just in South America, not just the 3 or 4 countries that we think about, but all over the world. They're coming into our country from Africa, from Asia, all over the world. They're pouring into our country. Nobody's even looking at them. They just come in.
Chadians voted on a constitutional referendum on Sunday that would pave the way for elections to return to the country to civilian rule. Transitional President Mahamat Idris Deby, who has governed the country since 2021, had promised to hand power to civilians and hold elections this year before postponing them to 2024. The provisional results are expected in late December, and the Supreme Court will validate them within 4 days. DD India's Isaac Lucando has more.
8 million voters are expected to decide on a new constitution in Chad. The vote tests the legitimacy of the over 30-year rule of the Deby family. President Idris Deby's death in 2021 threw Chad's politics and military into disarray. His son Mahamat Idris Deby now leads a transitional military council that is attempting to hold on to power. Many analysts predict a yes vote due to a well-funded ruling junta campaign. The opposition, on the other hand, has faced divisions, arrests, intimidation, and threats over the last year. Their hopes are pinned on a low turnout to challenge the family dynasty's power. A country of about 17 million people, the United Nations ranks Chad as the world's 2nd least developed country. Isaac Lucando in Dar es Salaam, reporting for DD India.
Well, let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. U.S. border officials on Sunday closed 2 rail bridges between Texas and Mexico due to surge in reports of smuggling of migrants. The step was meant to redeploy enforcement resources elsewhere in response to large numbers of migrants. Similar temporary closures have been imposed in recent weeks, shutting the Lukeville port of entry in Arizona, a pedestrian entrance in San Diego, and a vehicle crossing in Eagle Pass. A car collided with a vehicle near President Joe Biden's motorcade in Delaware, causing a security incident. Biden and First Lady Jill Biden were safely escorted to their car by Secret Service agents. The incident occurred after Biden and his wife left his campaign headquarters after a meal. And sleeping cats inspired by Japan's Tambo art are growing in rainbow rice cultivar in northern Thailand's rice paddies. The project aims to promote tourism and farming in Bangkon Sung, attracted art enthusiasts and academics for ideas exchange. Santas were paraded through Mexico City and Caracas, attracting thousands of racers, families, and even dogs dressed in Santa Claus costumes. Hundreds participated in the Santa Ho 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 race, where participants enjoyed a foam party to combat heat. Around 100 Santa Clauses departed their sleighs for gondolas en route to Venice's canals. The event, part of the Venice Lights Up Christmas program, marked the red coloration of the Grand Canal and brought joy and magic to the city. Santa Claus surprised needy children in Guatemala by rappelling down with presents, a tradition he has been following for 26 years now. The presents sourced from a donation drive at fire stations were handed out in La Paz, a suburb of Guatemala City. Well, still to come on DD India News Hour. ASEAN-Japan Commemorative Summit meeting held to advance security cooperation. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will flag off Vande Bharat Express from Varanasi to Delhi. India experiences snow in the north and rain in the south, showcasing diverse weather patterns.
India that invents. India that innovates. India that excites. India that invites. Land of possibility. Teeming with opportunities. Watch India Ideas each Thursday, 8 p.m. only on DD India.
Always welcoming. The vibe of Punjab is larger than life. Warm up to grandeur that's beyond compare. And history that's dotted with tales of bravery. Smiling soul of India, where music, art, cuisine and culture comes together to create an unforgettable impression. Punjab is all set to win your hearts with its unique and colorful extravaganza.
Well, you're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. Let's have a look at the headlines once again. North Korea launches second ballistic missile in less than 12 hours, condemns arrival of US nuclear powered submarines in South Korea. Japan PM to hold National Security Council meeting. Aid enters Gaza through Israel's Kerem Shalom crossing for the first time in conflict. Sources say Israel-Hamas opened a truce, but obstacles remain. National security trial of pro-democracy tycoon Jimmy Lai opens in Hong Kong. Lai faces 3 charges under the national security law and further count of sedition. And in sports, FIFA Club World Cup set for June-July in 2025. United States to hold the first edition of the event. The leaders of Japan and the Philippines met on Sunday at a special summit in Tokyo. Both the countries bolstered their maritime ties with the exchange of a memorandum of cooperation between the two countries' coast guards at the bilateral meeting. The Philippines and Japan have started talks on a reciprocal access agreement that would allow the deployment of military forces on each other's soil amid growing tensions in the region. Japan also has maritime disputes with China. Earlier on Sunday, Japanese Prime Minister Kishida met with Thai Prime Minister after a summit with Association of Southeast Asian Nations leaders in Tokyo. They discussed various topics ranging from security to economic cooperation. Japan is hosting a 3-day special summit from December 16 to 18 that commemorates the 50 years of ties between Japan and the grouping. Well, Chris Gilbert joins us with more from Tokyo. Chris, what latest are you getting for us on this?
Well, Monday today is the third day of talks, and it's going to be focused on ASEC. That's the Asia Zero Emissions Community. Japan is going to be involved, of course, as co-host, and Australia is joining as well. But as far as the 50th commemorative summit between Japan and ASEAN goes, that all wrapped up on Sunday with a joint statement. It's quite an interesting one as well. It's reasonably detailed, but for the broad brushstrokes, it links together the AOIP and the FOIP. Now, what those are is the ASEAN outlook for the Indo-Pacific and Japan's free and open Indo-Pacific. The ASEAN outlook really focuses on ASEAN centrality to cooperation in the region. Japan's free and open Indo-Pacific focuses on really, well, it's a catchphrase really, to counter and oppose as a dog whistle any military assertiveness by countries such as China and North Korea. This was thought to, it was by experts like it was going to be a very security-focused summit, and as well as the economic side of things it has as well. It draws back the joint statement to the UN Charter on Maritime Law. This is very pertinent for ASEAN countries such as the Philippines, such as Malaysia, Brunei and Vietnam, which are all front-facing towards China in that part of the world. And it also draws together and strengthens strategic comprehensive partnerships with Japan based on heart-to-heart people encounters, the movement of students and business people between the countries, new economies and supply chain security, and peace and stability. So as I say, especially compared to previous summits, the expectation that it was going to be security-focused and fronted does seem to have been realized.
Okay. What else can we expect from this summit?
Yeah, it's had a number of deliverables already. As I say, today is going to be the day of talks focused on how this part of the world, the Asia Pacific, can focus on zero emissions. And considering the summer that we've all experienced in the northern hemisphere, that may be more important than ever. Japan is looking to front foot itself as a leader of Asia Pacific communities, especially harking back to its G7 commitments to invest in global South countries. It does seem to be making good on that promise with $35 billion of new investment over the next 5 years just announced from this summit. That is going into things such as next generation automobiles, for example, which may not be as heavily polluting as the automobiles that are currently being used in ASEAN countries. But there is pressure on Japan to be leading this charge. I mean, just looking at my Instagram ads, there are NGOs here in Japan advertising for Japan to clean up its reputation around dirty energy, to be a leader for ASEAN countries about converting and transitioning to clean energy. So it'll be interesting to see what the results of those talks are today.
All right, with this, thank you so much, Chris, for joining in. Now, India's External Affairs Minister, Dr. S. Jaishankar, pushed for UNSC reform. Speaking at an event in South Indian city of Bengaluru, the minister said, Security Council is like an old club where there are set members who don't want to let go of the grip.
The Security Council is like an old club where there are set members who don't want to let go of the grip. Okay? So they want to keep control over the club, not very keen to admit more members, not too keen to have their practices questioned. In a way, it's a human failing, but I think today it is harming the world. It is harming the world because on key issues confronting the world, the UN is getting less and less effective. So, and I can also tell you the global sentiment. I mean, today, if you ask 200 countries in the world, do you want reform or don't you want reform? Very large number of countries would say, yes, we want reform.
Let's now look at the Parliament business for today. This is the last week of winter session of Parliament. Members of the Lok Sabha, that is the lower house, will continue to discuss Post Office Amendment Bill 2023. Following passage of the bill, Home Minister Amit Shah will move the redrafted 3 criminal law bills for discussion and passing. Discussion will take place on all 3 bills simultaneously. While in Rajya Sabha, that is upper house of Parliament, Amit Shah will move the Jammu and Kashmir Reorganisation Second Amendment Bill 2023 and the Union Territories Amendment Bill 2023 for consideration and passing. With the passage of the bills, the government would be able to reserve 33% of seats in Jammu and Kashmir and Puducherry assemblies for women. The legislations have already been passed in Lok Sabha on Tuesday. After this, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman will move 2 appropriation bills for returning them to Lok Sabha following discussion. Well, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi said that seriousness of the security breach in Parliament cannot be underestimated and called for no squabbling over the issue. The Delhi Police Special Team arrived at the residence of Neelam Azad in Haryana to interrogate her family members, one of the accused who was involved in the Parliament security breach case. 6 people, Neelam Azad, Mahesh Kumawat, Lalit Jha, Sagar Sharma, Manoranjan D and Amol Shinde are accused in the Parliament security breach case. Well, we've been joined by Vikas Ati, DD India correspondent for more. Vikas, what latest do you have for us? What is the update in the matter?
Right, Siddharth, so far as the business is concerned in the Parliament, we are witnessing these bills are being listed for last 2 working days, and because of continuous disruption from the opposition, it could not be taken up. Though you just mentioned that 3 bills are very important. These bills have been redrafted after the suggestion from the Standing Committee of Home Ministry. These bills are going to completely change our criminal justice system, but the crux of the matter is whether we see a normal functioning in both the houses today or not, because for last few days since this breach occurred in the Parliament, in the Lok Sabha, we are witnessing continuous disruption. It followed by, in fact, suspension of more than a dozen MPs of the opposition. But yet, the opposition MPs are creating ruckus over this particular issue. As far as the investigation is concerned, as you just mentioned, that 6 key people have already been arrested and they are in police custody. Delhi Police Special Cell is investigating this whole case, and they are trying to get to the main conspirator. As of now, it is being said that Lalit Mohan Jha was the key conspirator, but police is still not officially said that on record that he is the key conspirator. Investigation is still going on. All 6 have been given police custody for 7 days now. When they will be produced before the competent court, once their custody is over, then we will be able to know what is the line of investigation, what police has got from these 6 people. Since interesting thing is, Siddharth, that they live in different parts of the country, how they came together, how they conspire. It's such a big conspiracy. It's one of the you can say one of the bizarre incident in the Parliament in the past few years. We have seen that kind of incident in earlier as well. But how did they manage to get inside the Lok Sabha? That is another matter of investigation. Speaker has already said that whenever a report is prepared, it will be shared. This report will be shared with the member of Parliament as well. But as of now, they must allow normal functioning in both the houses. But again, in a few hours, we will be able to know what is the stance of opposition today as well. Since last two days, they are continuously disrupting proceedings in both the houses.
All right, Vikas, in Delhi Police, as far as the Parliament security breach is concerned, Delhi Police Special Team arrived at the residence of Neelam Azad. Are there any family members also to which Delhi Police has gone to as far as the accused are concerned?
Right, so the police has formed different teams since one of the accused is from Bihar. He was also living in Kolkata for some time. So different teams have been formed to investigate further that what have they been doing before this particular incident. What have were other people also involved in this whole conspiracy? Who are the real people behind this whole incident? So these are the issues which are still being investigated. And since it's a very high-profile case, police are not giving any off-record briefing as of now. They are very cautious about the investigation. Once these people will be produced before the competent court, then we will be able to know what is the what has been achieved as of now. Since the court always asks from the police that in last 7 days, what was the line of the investigation, what police has got from these 6 people in custody, and why the custody further should be extended. So when they will be introduced again in the Patiala House Court, then we will be able to know what is the line of investigation as of.
Okay, Vikas, also, can you give us some updates about the parliament security since the time this incident has happened?
All right, Siddharth, so security has been further strengthened. Now we are witnessing a lesser number of visitors. Earlier, a number of visitors were allowed inside the parliament premises. Now it has been restricted. Though security is very strict in the parliament, and it's a multi-layer security. You have to get through 3 different checkpoints. But again, a kind of security audit has been done. Now further steps are being taken, and in fact MPs have also given their suggestions that how it can be made more secure, more safe. So these suggestions are being implemented. But the recent fallout of this incident is that the number of visitors is being reduced to bare minimum. And once this security audit is complete, further suggestions from the committee which has been formed under DGCRPF, it will also give its suggestions to strengthen the security.
Definitely. Yes. On that note, thank you so much, Vikas Arthi, for joining in. While Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi will participate in the nationwide outreach program of Viksit Bharat Sankalp Yatra in the city of Varanasi today, Prime Minister Modi is expected to interact with the beneficiaries of various schemes. Along with this, people will also take benefits of health camp and exhibition on agri products. Today is the second and last day of PM Modi's visit to his parliamentary constituency. Also in Varanasi, PM Modi will flag off the second Vande Bharat Express for the New Delhi. The Indian Railways is set to commence operations of the advanced semi-high-speed Vande Bharat to enhance the connectivity between Indian state of Uttar Pradesh and the national capital. The initiative not only saves passengers time but also accelerates cultural, industrial and economic development in the region. Indian government's outreach program Viksit Bharat Sankalp Yatra event to brief and educate citizens about the ongoing government schemes and programs reached Indore on Sunday. A camp was set up which provided the benefits of various schemes of the central government. Various stalls were set up to facilitate beneficiaries with information on different schemes. Registration for schemes, correction of errors in Aadhaar card and comprehensive IDs, as well as the process of creating new ones were undertaken at the stalls. And let's take a look at other stories making news. The new COVID subvariant JN.1 in Indian state of Kerala raises new concerns as experts say it is markedly different from prior versions. The World Health Organization has urged member states to continue with strong surveillance amid rising respiratory diseases JN.1 subvariant. Flood-affected people of Tirunelveli district in the South Indian state of Tamil Nadu moved to shelter camp after rains lashed parts of the city. Due to heavy rainfall, Tamil Nadu government declares holiday for all schools, colleges, private institutions, banks and financial institutions in 4 districts on Monday. Snow covered the picturesque town of Gulmarg in India's Jammu and Kashmir as the area saw the first snowfall of the season. The state government helped tourists and locals in removing stranded vehicles after abrupt snowfall earlier on Monday. The official also expected a fall in minimum temperature by 2 to 4 degrees Celsius from Monday onwards. The recent snowfall in Jammu and Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand has impacted weather conditions in the plains as well, including New Delhi, Punjab, Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh and Rajasthan. The national capital was blanketed in thick fog as cold wave conditions engulfed the city since weekend. Visuals from Kartavya Path show very limited visibility, forcing people to stay indoors. India has become the first country in the world to demonstrate the capability of engagement of 4 aerial targets simultaneously at a range of 25 kilometers by command guidance using single firing unit. The test was conducted by the Indian Air Force using Akash weapons system. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Asian stocks got off to a cautious start on Monday amidst mixed global trends. Bank of Japan board meets to review its rates amid current global economic cues. And stay tuned to know who clinched the Match Racing Tour World Championship sailing title.
Welcome to Jaipur.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj, and let's see what's happening in the world of business. Now, Asia stocks got off to a cautious start on Monday in a week where Japan's central bank might edge further away from its uber-easy policies, while a key reading on US inflation is expected to underpin market pricing of interest rate cuts there. Japan's Nikkei .N225 slipped 0.8% in early trade, weighed in part by a firm yen. South Korea's main index was flat. Meanwhile, as the Asian market showed some negative movement after a cautious Monday start, eyes are set on the meeting when the Bank of Japan, or BOJ, board meets to review its rates amid the current global economic cues. The BOJ meets Tuesday amid much chatter that it is considering how and when to move away from negative interest rates. The bank will meet for the last time this year, and according to traders, analysts and market observers, the BOJ is expected to maintain all its major policy settings. BOJ currently has a benchmark interest rate of minus 0.1% and is expected to maintain it. Meanwhile, China will release its loan prime rates on Wednesday, while inflation data from Japan is due Friday. Well, time now for sport. FIFA President Gianni Infantino said that Club World Cup plan for 2025 is set to feature 32 teams, and it will be played from June 15 to July 13 in the United States, while a new Intercontinental Cup will be played annually from next year. The council met in Jeddah to ratify the dates for the Club World Cup. It confirmed next year's Intercontinental Cup would have the UEFA Champions League winner playing a team that comes through Intercontinental playoffs. The council also decided that Chile will host the Under-20 World Cup in 2025, while Poland will host the Under-20 Women's World Cup in 2026.
In 2025, we will have a new club competition, a competition which will crown the world champion of the club, which is the best club in the world officially, with a title and a trophy delivered by FIFA. This new competition will be called Mundial de Clubes in Spanish, and it will take place in the United States of America from the 15th of June to the 13th of July 2025.
Liverpool failed to reclaim top spot as they were held to a 0-0 draw by Manchester United in the Premier League. Liverpool had been knocked out of the first place by Arsenal and would have recaptured a place at the summit with a win but failed to score. Arsenal picked up a crucial 2-0 win against Brighton thanks to goals from Gabriel Jesus and Kai Havertz. A United side shown of confidence after a miserable week held on grimy for their point, although they have now scored just once in their last 8 visits to Liverpool. The closest the hosts came to scoring was a Trent Alexander-Arnold shot that grazed the post, while Rasmus had United's best opportunity. Second place Liverpool have 38 points from 17 games, with leaders Arsenal have 39 points.
I said that after the game in the dressing room, yeah, very proud of this team. And this, we should do this more often. I said this, for instance, Newcastle was also a tough game. And there we make one mistake and we're switching off. And you concede goal. But when you stay in the game, and when you are disciplined in your game plan, then finally it opens up. And then you can take your chances.
The first ever Khelo India Para Games came to an exciting close on Sunday at Delhi's IG Stadium. Union Sports Minister Anurag Singh Thakur and the President of Paralympic Committee of India, Deepa Malik, graced the closing ceremony, calling it a historic moment for Indian para sports.
The first ever Khelo India Para Games due to a spectacular close on Sunday evening, marking a historic moment in Indian sports history. The dazzling closing ceremony unfolded at the iconic IG Stadium in Delhi, graced by the presence of Union Sports Minister Anurag Singh Thakur. He declared Khelo India Para Games as a momentous occasion in the annals of Indian sports history.
We have witnessed moments that transcended medals, moments that etched themselves onto our hearts. As we look back, we see not just medals, but milestones. We see the emergence of new talents, the setting of new records, and the shattering of old prejudices. This is the new India envisioned by the Honorable Prime Minister Modi.
Union Sports Minister Anurag Singh Thakur also reiterated the government's commitment to supporting athletes and providing them with necessary resources to excel on the national and international stage.
Government India has been supporting the para-athletes at par, be it the competition exposure, cash awards, and all support awards. But these games were not just about podium finishes. They were about breaking barriers. One cheer at a time, we saw parents, coaches beaming with pride as their children and students, once deemed different, took center stage as champion.
The President of the Paralympic Committee of India, Deepa Malik, also attended the closing ceremony. Haryana emerged triumphant, clinching the champion's crown with an impressive overall tally of 105 medals. Their medal haul included 40 gold, 39 silver and 26 bronze medals. Uttar Pradesh secured the second position in the medals table. As the inaugural edition concluded, it left behind a legacy of empowerment, dreams fulfilled, and a nation inspired by the remarkable achievements of these para-athletes.
The inaugural edition of the Para Khelo Games has been ended with a grand closing ceremony, but in other words, it's not an end but a start of a new dawn for the Indian para sports. In other words, it has not only given a platform to Indian para athletes but promoted the principle of inclusivity and diversity, and it will have a long-lasting impact on the Indian para sporting ecosystem. Narayan Singh with camera person Mohit, DD India, Delhi.
Former India cricketer Ajay Jadeja participated in the medal ceremony of the CP football event of the Khelo India Para Games on Sunday. He gave away awards to the winners. Speaking on the occasion, Jadeja said the inaugural Khelo India Para Games have given specially challenged athletes a great platform to rise and shine.
I think it's a great initiative. You know, Khelo India, Khelo itself, many years ago when it was announced, you were wondering what is going to happen. But I think what it has done is made all other sportsmen feel the same. Unlike, you know, only cricket was looked at in a way. It has made every sports federation or every sports body equal. And above all, this platform, which is a wonderful initiative, because for a sportsman or a artist, what is most important is to be appreciated. And the other big thing it's done is it's made everybody equal. It's brought everybody together. We sportsmen are a minority in a certain way, and especially Paralympics is a place where nobody even used to look at. And now with this initiative, it has just changed. You're not leaving anybody behind. The government is not only talking, but they are walking the talk as well.
Britain's Ian Williams clinched his 7th-match Racing Tour World Championship sailing title in Shenzhen. Williams, along with his teammates John Gunderson, Richard Sydenham and Gerard Mitchell, has set a new record for the most championship victories in Tour's history. Britain's Williams won the championship in the 2015 season. He defeated American Gavin Brady and his True Brew Racing team 3-1 in the final.
Yeah, incredible to finally got the 7th world title. The 6th one was back at the start of 2016, so it's been a long, what is it, I lost count, 7, nearly 8 years. So yeah, awesome to come with a new team with China One Ningbo and come to China and to win the 7th world title here is amazing.
All right, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X formerly known as Twitter, and Instagram. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.